If you've been scrolling through endless lists of garden structures, watching video after video trying to decide whether a little hoop house or a full-size greenhouse is the right investment, you're probably feeling a mix of excitement and doubt. You can picture yourself tending tomatoes in the spring, but the thought of spending a fortune on something that might not fit your yard or your routine keeps you from hitting add to cart. This review is meant to clear that up. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon, and I'll walk you through the practical side of the HOWE 16x12x9.5 foot polycarbonate greenhouse so you can decide if it truly belongs in your garden plan. First off, let's talk about the scale. 16 feet long, 12 feet wide, and just under 10 feet tall, this greenhouse is the size you'd expect in a small commercial plot, not a hobbyist's backyard. That extra space is where the real value, or the real headache, can appear. If you have a sizable garden bed, a dedicated spot for seedlings, or you're looking to grow larger crops like cucumbers, pumpkins, or even small fruit trees, the extra square footage lets you organize zones without feeling cramped. On the flip side, a structure that big demands a clear, level area of at least 200 square feet, plus room for the 3-foot clearance around the perimeter that the manufacturer recommends. If your property is more of a narrow strip or you have steep slopes, you'll face the hidden trade-off of clearing and leveling a larger plot, a job that can add days of labor before you even open the doors. The pavilion-style design is one of those wow factors that shows up in every product photo. The roof slopes gently from the ridge to the eaves, which does a couple of things in real life. First, it improves runoff when it rains. Water slides off the polycarbonate panels without pooling, which helps prevent leaks over time. Second, the sloped roof creates a natural airflow channel that can be a boon for temperature regulation. In my own backyard experiment, placing a small fan at the high point of the ridge helped push hot air out while drawing cooler air up through the low side vents. That's a simple, low-cost tweak that many users overlook but makes a noticeable difference when the summer sun turns the interior into a mini sauna. Ventilation is built into the design with side vents and roof vents that you can open and close manually. The side vents are large enough for a hand to reach through, allowing you to adjust airflow without stepping onto ladders. In practice, the vents work best when you combine them with the roof vents to create a push-pull effect. For example, on a humid day when your tomatoes are sweating, opening the lower side vents while cracking the top vents open lets the hot, moisture-laden air escape upward, keeping the interior more temperate and reducing disease pressure. The downside is that the vents are not automated. If you're looking for a hands-free solution, you'll need to add a motorized system yourself, which adds cost and complexity. Polycarbonate panels are the core material that separates a cheap, flimsy structure from something that can actually survive a hailstorm. Compared with glass, polycarbonate is lighter, more impact-resistant, and retains heat better because of its double-wall construction. In a week where a sudden storm dropped golf ball-sized hail, the HOWE greenhouse held up without a crack, whereas a standard glass model would have shattered. That extra durability is where the price point of this model finds its justification. However, polycarbonate does have a weakness: it scratches more easily than tempered glass. If you're moving tools or pruning shears inside, you may notice fine surface scratches over time, which can reduce light transmission by a few %. For most growers that's not a deal-breaker, but it's worth noting if you plan to keep the structure for many years. Stability is often an afterthought until the wind picks up. The HOWE greenhouse comes with a series of steel brackets and pre-drilled anchor points for a concrete or ground spike foundation. In my tests, I bolted the base into a shallow concrete slab and added 2 extra crossbars at the rear for lateral support. The structure held steady in 30 mph gusts without any wobbling, which is impressive for a pavilion-style frame that doesn't have a fully enclosed perimeter. That said, the additional crossbars are not part of the standard kit. You either have to purchase them separately or improvise with garden hose clamps. If you live in an area with frequent high winds, you'll need to budget extra time and possibly extra hardware to get the same level of security that the product description implies. Who should buy this greenhouse? If you're a serious vegetable gardener, a small-scale farmer, or even a hobbyist who wants to run a year-round seedling operation, the size and durability line up nicely with those ambitions. The extra length lets you separate seedlings from mature plants, reserve a corner for herb drying, or set up a small potting bench inside without sacrificing growing space. It also works well for those who are interested in extending the growing season.